Hello. I was born in Mexico. I moved, yes. I moved to Houston, Texas when I was 9 years old. I was put in a bilingual school because I didn't really know any English, so I've come a very long way since then. A few months after Houston, I moved to Argentina. I actually spent my 10th birthday on the airplane on the way there. And in Argentina, they speak a different type of Spanish, but it was pretty close to what I knew, so it wasn't too bad. But then I was back in the US by 11. Once again, trying to learn English with an accent that was neither Mexican, nor American, nor Argentinian. Within the US, I lived in 3 different states, and I went to a different school pretty much every year. So by the time I graduated high school, I had gone to 10 different schools in 3 different countries, and I had felt like an outsider my entire life. But one good thing was that I loved school. I was very good at it, so I had really good grades, and then when college came around, my teachers were very willing to give me recommendation letters, which soon turned into acceptance letters. So all in all, I was doing pretty good. I was the girl with a bright future. But during my freshman year of college, I dropped out of school, and I fell into substance abuse. Everybody was absolutely shocked. It didn't make sense that the nice, smart girl with the resilient background ended up doing meth. Like Breaking Bad. Even after I got sober, I spent years angry at myself for letting it get to that point. It took a very long time to understand not just what led me there, but also the physiological consequences of what happens when you are or when you feel alone. Most of us grow up thinking that mental health is only in our heads. At least I grew up that way. So I was very confused when my anxiety felt like a physical racing heart and utter desperation. My anger and my sadness felt like tight knots on my throat that literally wouldn't let me breathe. If I felt betrayed, it was a physical stabbing pain to my heart. I could feel it from my chest all the way to my fingers. And my grief and my depression made my entire body feel heavy, immovable, and hopeless. I spent so long thinking that if I just had one person who'd really understood me, whom I could trust, then everything would be okay. I began to realize that mental health is not just in our heads, and it's not just individual work. Mental health is lived in our bodies, and it is shaped by connection. But to understand mental health, we have to look at our nervous system. Our nervous system is a vast network of cells that run through our entire body asking one question: am I safe or am I in danger? When you touch a hot stove, nerve endings sense the heat and your sympathetic nervous system activates. It sends blood to your muscles and raises your heart rate so you can move your hand away. Ideally, once you move your hand away, the parasympathetic nervous system restores calm by slowing down your heart rate and relaxing the muscles. That's how a regulated nervous system works. Now, what's really interesting about the nervous system is that it doesn't just react to real threat, it can react to perceived threats. And the danger doesn't have to be physical. So things like a loud noise or a harsh tone. Even the absence of support or the perceived absence of support can signal threat. What our body deems as threat can be a result of our trauma. And trauma isn't always extreme, like surviving abuse or war. It can be things like constantly moving around as a child, going through a divorce, discrimination, poverty, or other types of chronic stress can also teach our nervous system to stay on guard or to stay shut down, even if life is safe again. That's called dysregulation. So the nervous system is the lens between our environment and our experience of it. We don't respond to the world itself. We respond to how safe or unsafe our nervous system feels in the world. This means that mental health is not just cognitive or emotional. It is physiological, and it is systemic. Neuroscience shows us that our nervous systems are not closed. They are open systems, meaning that they can interact with their surroundings and take in new information. So eye contact, tone of voice, facial expression, these are all signs of safety or danger. So when I engage with you calmly and with a smile, your nervous system may slowly start to mirror mine. This means that social engagement is actually a neural exercise. And connection between one another is not just supplemental to mental health. It is one of the biological pathways that allows us to regulate in and out of stress appropriately. So it's very alarming that when we look around, our culture has stripped away opportunities to practice these daily neurosocial exercises. Working from home, isolated commutes, silent lunches where all of our eyes are glued to our phones. Some of us go home to families living completely separate lives in the same house. And now we're even having personal and intimate conversations with AI instead of other people. We will do anything to avoid unsafe contact with someone else, to the point that we find safety in pulling out our phones when we walk, when we wait in line, when we seek connection. And this individualized, disconnected way of life has also affected our view of mental health. We are told that our reactions are personal problems to fix through self-care practices, completely disregarding our disconnected environments and our biological need for others. Even though there is more attention on mental health now than ever before, rates of anxiety, depression, and loneliness are still rising. We are all still struggling, not because of a lack of awareness, but because of a lack of connection. When we stop engaging socially, our nervous system stops expecting safety from others, and connection itself can start to feel like a threat. Someone who spends a lot of time alone may prefer to be alone, not because they don't want to have a connection with someone, but because they may no longer know how to feel safe around others. On the other hand, someone who is constantly looking for connection in a disconnected world may not know how to safely or appropriately find it, resulting in failed relationship after failed relationship. At the societal level, the consequences of our current disconnected state are mostly being revealed in our ability, or lack thereof, to communicate. We don't have to be meticulously observant to see that we are living in a divided society, and not just politically. We grow angry at the driver going the speed limit in front of us when the truth is that we are the ones late. We react offensively to strangers and people who are different from us because we deem the unfamiliar as a threat. We are losing the ability to talk to each other with care, even when we disagree. And in doing so, we forget that our perspectives and our creativity expand significantly through respectful conversations about differing opinions. We have forgotten how to coexist within our own species, and how beautiful our humanity could be if we leaned into our biology of co-regulation and connection. Instead, we have isolated ourselves. Isolation isn't just denying our biology. It is a severe physiological punishment. In 2023, the US General Surgeon stated that loneliness was as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The circuits that regulate our mental health, our physical health, and our social behavior are the same circuits. We cannot separate the mind from the body, and despite modern efforts, we cannot separate the body from the world that it lives in. And it doesn't stop there. Our state also affects the states of others. This is neuroscience that we have all seen in action, when a regulated teacher can stabilize a classroom, or when a regulated parent can give their child feelings of safety and resilience. A regulated friend can help you buffer stress, and a regulated community could literally lower overall rates of chronic illness, anxiety, and depression. So how do we unlearn the individualization of mental health, of humanity? We start small. Our body changes to consistency, not intensity. For those who feel disconnected, don't try to push yourself into deep conversation or instant intimacy right away, but start with proximity. Sit in a coffee shop. Volunteer. Text a friend or call them if you're feeling brave. If you're a student on campus, try walking around campus without your phone and without any headphones on, and see what happens. Just let your body practice existing around others again. Sometimes connection starts with feeling human, and to feel human is to be with humanity. For those who feel safe and regulated, your regulation is not just for you. It is a gift to others. You could be their first example of someone who speaks gently, listens openly, and offers presence without judgment. My journey is what guided me towards a counseling career, if that wasn't obvious. But I didn't get here alone, and I couldn't have gotten here alone. I healed in the presence of others. I learned what it meant to feel safe through them. And those safe connections finally allowed me to be who I really wanted to be, instead of falling back into old reactive patterns where disconnection was the default. Mental health is not an individual journey. It is a collective process. We cannot heal society one isolated individual at a time, but we can try to become a regulating presence for others. Acts of kindness, objective listening, even making the conscious personal choice to also see the good in humanity instead of just assuming the worst. It all helps soften the defenses of our nervous system. If we unlearn the individualization of mental health, we make room for something much bigger. A collective system of well-being. Our body has been telling us this all along. Healing was never meant to be done in isolation. No self-care practice can replace the healing that happens through another safe human being. Taking care of our mental health is not about trying to fix ourselves. We are restoring the human system. And that system includes every single one of us. Thank you.